Hi everyone, my name's Emma. Today we're going to be talking a bit more about perspective and how words like who, what, where, when, why, and how intersect with that. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones that we make every single day will help us create the world that we live in. And that's what we talk about here on this channel. How can we take lessons that exist all around us and bring them into our own lives so that we can become the greatest version of ourselves and create the best planet for all of us? Many of us every day ask, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Or something along those lines. And I just want to take a moment and realize, what if instead of saying, how are you feeling, we said, what are you feeling? Because when we say, how are you feeling, it feels as if that's an innate characteristic of a person or of that thing, because you say, well, how does that work? We are automatically assuming that there is a specific way that this thing works, and that there may be other ways that it functions, but that this is an innate feeling. But if you say, like, what are you doing today? We can understand and take that perspective where we're like, we're probably just doing this today, and we have the ability to do other things at other times. And we so often completely identify with how we are feeling that if we are realizing, well, if I say, what am I feeling? It could be like, well, I'm feeling anger or fear or guilt. And we can take that step back and see a separation between us and that thing and say, you know what? I actually am just feeling this right now. This isn't an entirety of my being. And it may seem almost abstract, but try it out. Instead of saying, well, how am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? So we can get that separation. And when we think of words like when, we could see that in many different ways, because when could simply mean what time, or where could mean a place, but when and where could also be more abstract, and where could be, well, is it this point in time? Is it this version of that person? And we all have perceptions of people, and that person's perception of themselves and the world has a perception of them as well. And all of these exist at the exact same time. So we can't really distinguish between where and when all the time, because many different things exist at the same time. But that's not usually a perspective that we really think about. Someone could be upset about one thing and have a different reason for being upset about it than you would have about the way they reacted towards something. So different things can exist at the exact same time, and different realities do exist at the exact same time, because nothing in this world operates without our observation of it. There's nothing that can exist that isn't affected by the fact that we are observing it. That's what quantum mechanics really says, quantum physics. And it may seem crazy, but think about it. We could have 1,000 people look at the same painting, and we would have 1,000 different perspectives of that painting. Not because that painting changed for every single person, but because we are using past events, past emotions to create and identify something that is in front of us. And so when we can realize many things exist at the same time, there's different ways to interpret the exact same thing, we can start to understand that different questions that we ask, as long as we can create space between us and the thing that we're asking, we can give ourselves the time and the space to create an understanding of it that is separate from an immediate personalization of bringing that thing into our lives. So if you take a step back and you say, well, what am I feeling versus how am I feeling? One of those is an innate understanding of who you are, and one of those is a separation and being like, no, right now I'm feeling annoyed and upset that this happened, but is it because I'm looking at it through something that's happened before that's similar to this? Is it because a situation like this has led to a conclusion that I really did not like? So if we can give ourselves the space to look at, all right, this is what happened, this is what's happening, how can I deal with it without continuously looking at it through what's happened in my life before and projecting onto this thing how I'm feeling about it. And that's just a survival technique, is we can only base future actions based off of what we've known in the past, and to make an active decision to switch to seeing, okay, well, this is just right now, this is just what's happening, I can move forward from this, is difficult, but it's that switch of just looking at things differently, and using those 5 words that really create most of the questions that we ask: what, when, where, why, and how. And with why, there's many different reasons why things exist, and it could be from various perspectives. It might be religious, it might be scientific, it might be all of these different things. And the more perspectives you gain on various subjects and go deeper into the various perspectives on that one subject, you'll start to realize that actually quite a bit of these overlap. So why for one specific reason could overlap with a why for a different reason, even if most of the time it's considered completely different. And so gaining these perspectives and seeing the world through these questions in a way that's saying, hey, a lot of things can exist at the same time and be true. And when we are dealing with a situation with one person, that person is viewing it differently. Somebody from the outside would view it differently. Many people would address the problem differently. You and that person might address that problem differently. And sometimes the problem might not even be with the other person. It might be other things influencing how that person is reacting in that situation. And is that okay? No. But if we can give ourselves the space, maybe we can teach others to do the same thing for themselves. But at the end of the day, it is not your responsibility of how others feel or how others react towards you. It is your responsibility, however, to deal with it in the best way that you can and to move forward through it. So at the end of the day, we can't really analyze what's going on with others, but we can analyze how we're interpreting things. And if we can realize actually a lot of different things are happening at the same time right now, we can begin to understand that we all have a very different view of the world, because our world that we understand is not created separate from our observing it, and how all of the moments that we've lived up to right now have created the world that we live in. And so I cannot step away from the view that we have of the world, but we can give ourselves a little bit of space to see that we're actually separate from everything that's going on, that it's not innately who we are. Even if they're our own feelings, even if they're our own actions, we are still separate from them to an extent. And if we can give that space, we can analyze and we can interpret and we can react in a way that is more of a response and not an immediate reaction where we're annoyed or upset, and we identify with those feelings towards that person, and we can now separate how we feel towards that person, how we see that person as a whole being. We all get upset, we all get tired, we all get annoyed, and we can all be happy and have fun as well. And being present is extremely important, because we are not allowing the thing that happened 10 minutes ago, 10 years ago, influence us right now. And I can see that this is best observed when dealing with animals like a cat or a dog. A lot of the times the cat might hiss at you or scratch at you, and then in the next minute they might be wanting you to pet them. And oftentimes we don't want to react to people that way. We don't want to see them as upset in 1 minute and then nice in the next. And how do we interpret which side of them is who they actually are? They say the worst of a person is that person's true colors, but we aren't able to see what drove that reaction and what they're dealing with besides how you are interacting with them in that moment. Even if we spend all day, every day with someone, we still don't fully understand them. And that is definitely true for people that you only talk to for maybe 5 minutes a day or interact with 10 minutes a day, which is why we always need to take the perspective that this person is probably going through a lot. They don't know how to deal with this in any better way than they are right now, and that we can choose how we react to this or choose not to. We can just choose to move forward and say, okay, you'll do better next time, or you'll try to make sure that this doesn't happen again. There's different ways to approach different scenarios that won't drag on forever. You can see many people who complain about things that happened a long time ago. And a lot of people constantly complain about work or school or the same person that they keep hanging out with over and over again, yet they keep hanging out with them. And the thing is, no one's going to change our life for us, and nobody can take anything from us when it comes to how we view the world. You could have the most difficult problems in the world, the way you view the world is still your choice. Even if you feel like everything else has been taken from you, that can never be. And at the end of the day, that is what we can choose to work on all the time. And as we do that, we will become more aware of what we actually do want in life, and it will become more clear. And our purpose will be lived out in every moment because we are taking actions to step towards the version of ourselves that we want to be. And there's no point in looking up to others. There's no point in being upset that others have achieved things that you want to achieve before you, because I promise you the life that you want is something that has never existed completely in the way that you want it. Even if you want that job that somebody else has, or you want a car, or whatever it is, realize why you want those things. And again, that comes back to those questions, right? Why, where, when, how, when. Yeah, you know what I mean. And those questions, if we ask ourselves, well, why do we actually want to be doing this? And we can take the time to reflect and realize why different ways to look at things, different perspectives will bring us a bigger and greater understanding of what's going on, because all perspective is limited. So if we're only observing one perspective, we will be very limited in the way that we can view the world. Even if we were to manage to grab every perspective in the world and bring it into one, it would still to an extent be limited, because it is only the perspective from this planet, from this part of the universe, and there's many parts of the universe, right? So if we can just keep working on gaining perspective so that we can begin to have more understanding towards people and ourselves. And when we offer ourselves the space to understand our emotions, understand why we're doing the things that we're doing, other people going through their life and trying to figure things out will become more clear to us. It will become more easier to be forgiving. It'll be easier to be grateful for the life that you have and for what you do want to create, because you'll just be more aware. And that's really the goal, is awareness of what life you want and what life you don't want. And every step you take is bringing you towards the life you want, or it's taking you away. And as many times as we can go back to that idea, is this reaction right now bringing me closer to the person that I want to be? If you don't know what person you want to be, take the time to figure that out as well. All of the time in the world is there for us to figure out who we are so that we can create a better world for others. And of course, to start off by creating that better world for ourselves. And it all begins with the choices that you make every single day. So the next time these questions pop up, think of the different ways that you can think about them. How can you react in different ways? How can they be perceived differently? One question can be interpreted 100 different ways. So imagine how our influence of our past does have over these questions, and how much potential there is for other people to have their past influencing those moments. There's many moving parts in the world, and the way we perceive it is completely up to us. And we get to choose every day. I hope you got something out of this video. I will see you soon, but until then, have an amazing day.